All right, America, buckle up. What unfolded today at the Supreme Court wasn't just a legal decision, it was a political earthquake, the kind that permanently redraws the map of presidential power. The highest court in the land has just handed down a ruling that obliterates decades of creeping executive authority, and it came with a twist nobody saw coming. In a 7-2 vote, the justices, including several appointed by Donald Trump himself, ruled that the president had exceeded his constitutional bounds in ways that the court could no longer ignore. This wasn't a procedural slap on the wrist, it was a full-scale constitutional intervention. The Supreme Court didn't just check the president, it stopped him cold. The decision dismantles the legal scaffolding that Trump's administration had used to justify some of its most aggressive executive actions. And the irony is deafening. For years, Trump touted the Supreme Court as his ultimate insurance policy, his fortress of loyalty built brick by brick through conservative appointments. Yet today, that very fortress turned its cannons inward and fired a constitutional broadside at the power of the presidency itself. At the heart of the ruling is a simple but explosive idea. The Oval Office is not a throne. The justices ruled that the president's sweeping use of executive orders, particularly those extending control over federal agencies and even state National Guard units, violated the most basic structure of American government. In plain terms, they said, "Mr. President, the United States is not a monarchy, and no single person can rewrite the Constitution by executive command." Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, left no room for confusion. The Constitution, he wrote, explicitly denies the president unilateral power to override Congress. That's not a political opinion. That's the text of the law. And this time, the court enforced it with overwhelming clarity. The result? A 7-2 decision that immediately sent shockwaves through Washington. Inside the federal bureaucracy, panic set in almost instantly. Nearly 30 agencies, from defense and homeland security to energy and labor, are now frozen, scrambling to determine which of their orders were legally valid and which were built on sand. Overnight, the administration's governing machine came grinding to a halt. The Office of Legal Counsel has already launched a full-scale review of every directive tied to the struck-down executive orders. Lawyers across government are now racing to untangle the mess, while political aides inside the White House privately describe the scene as a constitutional ambush. The executive branch, once running at full throttle through presidential decrees, now faces a legal blackout. For years, the administration operated on a belief that if Congress refused to act, the president could simply act alone. Immigration, defense, the National Guard, you name it, the White House believed it had the power to bypass every obstacle with the stroke of a pen. That era is over. Justice Amy Coney Barrett's concurring opinion delivered the final blow. "The separation of powers," she wrote, "is not a suggestion, it is the foundation." That single line will be quoted in constitutional law classes for generations. In just a few words, she vaporized the argument that one branch could dominate the others. It was a subtle but historic betrayal, not of loyalty, but of blind partisanship. The ruling draws inevitable comparisons to United States versus Nixon in 1974, when the court ruled that not even the president could hide behind executive privilege to obstruct justice. This new decision carries the same message for a new era. No president, regardless of power or popularity, stands above the law. Inside the Capitol, reactions are fierce and divided. Democrats are calling it a constitutional resurrection, a sign that the system still works. Many Republicans, however, are split, some furious, calling it a stab in the back, while others quietly welcome the chance to restore legislative relevance after years of presidential overreach. The irony cuts deep. Trump's proudest legacy, reshaping the Supreme Court, has become his greatest limitation. The same justices he appointed to cement his power have now drawn the boundary lines that even he cannot cross. The symbolism is undeniable. Loyalty to the Constitution outranked loyalty to the man who nominated them. But beyond the political drama lies a broader truth. This ruling doesn't just affect one presidency, it redraws the limits for all future presidents, Democrat or Republican alike. It's a hard reset on executive authority, a warning to every future occupant of the White House that the Constitution's checks and balances are alive and well. Federal agencies will now have to rebuild their operations on congressional authorization rather than executive fiat. Programs will pause, funding will stall, and bureaucracies will grind through painful realignments. It will be messy, but it will also restore something vital: the principle that government must answer to the law, not to one individual's will. And yet, amid the chaos, there's a strange sense of order returning. For years, pundits have wondered whether America's institutions could still self-correct after so much strain. Tonight, we have an answer. The system bent, but it didn't break. The Supreme Court has reaffirmed that the rule of law remains the ultimate authority in this republic. The president may rage against it. He may claim conspiracy, corruption, or betrayal, but the math doesn't lie. A 7-2 ruling is not politics. It's constitutional consensus. This is not just about Trump. It's about the office of the presidency itself, and whether that office serves the Constitution or stands above it. The court's decision settles that debate in the clearest possible terms. The Constitution wins. And for all the outrage this creates, there's something profoundly stabilizing about it. It means that the framers' design, the delicate balance of power between branches, still works. That even when politics goes off the rails, the system can still find its way back to the tracks. This is what accountability looks like at the highest level. It's not driven by elections or polls. It's driven by law. The same law that outlasts every politician who tries to bend it. The Supreme Court has spoken, the presidency has been humbled, and the American experiment once again has proven that no individual, no matter how powerful, stands taller than the Constitution itself. If you believe in that idea, that this country is still capable of self-correction, then hit that like button right now. Subscribe to USA POLITIC for ongoing analysis of this seismic shift in American power. Drop your comment below. Do you think Congress will finally reclaim its role, or will the presidency find new ways to push the limits again? Let's talk about it, because this, right here, right now, is history in motion, and USA POLITIC is here to make sure you understand exactly what it means.